Gregory Smith is a 20-year-old male and much like anyone else his age enjoys going out drinking and playing video games. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia when he was 15 and had been taking medication for it ever since. He has been living with his girlfriend now for just under a year, but cracks within their relationship are beginning to show. On the evening of Saturday the 27th of October, Gregory had been heavily drinking for over 2 hours and had been playing a violent video game alongside this. His girlfriend, Mary, had been preparing a meal in the kitchen for some time, and at this point everything seemed normal for both of them. Gregory then walked into the kitchen to see Mary picking up a knife to chop the vegetables and wrongly assumes this was her initiating the attack upon his life. He throws her across the room, causing her to drop the blade, before dragging and pinning her up against the wall. In a fit of rage, he inflicts multiple punches directed towards her head while screaming at her for trying to kill him. This causes her to fall to the floor. Before she has a chance to escape, Gregory grabs the knife and administers 6 fatal stab wounds to her torso. She dies at the scene before paramedics could arrive.
Gregory Smith, how do you plead?
Not guilty.
What has the defence got to say?
We believe that Gregory is not guilty. During the time of the incident, he was experiencing a schizophrenic episode and was experienced one of the positive symptoms, in the form of hallucinations. Positive symptoms are symptoms that cause a change in someone's behaviour or thoughts. They are adding to the schizophrenic's personality. When Gregory was diagnosed with schizophrenia, he had been showing symptoms for over 6 months, and for at least 1 month had been showing these positive symptoms. The hallucination that he had been experiencing involved the belief that his girlfriend, Mary, was going to attack him, when in reality she was just cooking dinner in the kitchen.
When someone with schizophrenia experiences hallucination, they believe that what they can see and hear is real, and therefore causes them to respond to the stimulus accordingly. So Gregory believed that what he was doing was correct.
This is an example to show that Gregory's reality is distorted, as hearing or seeing what isn't there is perceived as abnormal.
Gregory, please explain to us why you decided to drink.
It acted as release from the stress I incurred from schizophrenia. I had experienced auditory hallucinations, which told me I was worthless and should never be truly loved. And the alcohol helped me escape the voices for a few hours.
Then make sure you stop taking your medication.
The medication acts as a sedative. It makes me feel down all the time. Just sometimes not actually taking it makes me feel more alive and better than when I'm on it for long periods at a time.
So which drugs do you actually take?
I take neuroleptic drugs, or known as atypical antipsychotic drugs, which act as dopamine blockers. The specific drug most commonly used to treat schizophrenia is clozapine, which acts to reduce positive and negative symptoms, and this is what I use. They do, however, produce side effects that make me feel awful, such as sleepiness and slowness, weight gain, interference with your sex life, increased chance of developing diabetes. Some can affect your blood pressure and make you feel dizzy. Tardive dyskinesia, which is a side effect which involves painful and unusual muscle movements, often involving the tongue and facial muscles. I find this embarrassing, which is the reason that I sometimes don't take my medication.
A possible biological explanation for Gregory's schizophrenia is that he may have enlarged ventricles and sulci in the brain. These structural differences in Gregory's brain may be adding pressure to other parts of his brain because some structures of the brain are larger than normal, and this could be a reason for his schizophrenia. However, there may also be psychological causes for Gregory's schizophrenia. One possible psychological cause for Gregory's schizophrenia is that during his childhood, he may have experienced conflicting messages at home, known as double bind. An example of this would be a mother asking her child for a hug one day and then them telling them the next day that they are told off for that. This would mean that the child is always in conflict as to how to act around their families.
Could this show a possibility that during childhood he was never taught what was actually right or wrong?
It sounds like insecure resistant attachment. That through development the child has had inconsistent reaction towards the child's needs. Therefore, the child, in this case Gregory, has not learned how to act correctly around people, and therefore his actions are learned through environmental experiences and thus reacting to these alone.
Another explanation as to why Gregory may have developed schizophrenia is that in his family home when he was growing up, there may have been a high level of expressed emotion. This is where the family would make a big emotional scene, maybe about something small. There would also be intense criticism and emotional distress, which may cause schizophrenia. Although it does seem unlikely that expressed emotion causes schizophrenia, if emotions are high at home, this may cause a schizophrenic relapse. And as Gregory and his girlfriend's relationship is starting to show some strain, this could be why he relapses and attacks her.
A blood test was requested to give us an indication into whether Gregory's testosterone levels were abnormal or not. You agreed to this, didn't you, Gregory?
I did, although I don't see how this relates to the case.
Well, according to the University of Rochester Medical Centre, the average adult male has testosterone levels of 280 and 1,100 nanograms per deciliter. We found Gregory's to be 1,760 nanograms per decilitre. This shows his levels are extremely high, above the average. In accordance with the biological approach, by having high testosterone levels, this leads us to believe that Gregory would act aggressively again if given the opportunity.
The final video game that Gregory had been playing also meant that his testosterone levels had a higher level than normal, also contributing factor to his violent act.
He failed to mention that he also had high cortisol levels. This contradicts your argument, as Gregory's biological makeup indicates that he's less likely to become aggressive when faced with a potentially aggressive situation. If your argument were to be correct, then his cortisol levels would have to be low.
This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. You can't just say that I'm guilty purely based on my testosterone levels. If that were true, then surely I would have behaved aggressively throughout my life whilst I was growing up, and that's not true.
On the contrary, testosterone may not be contributing to your aggression, though the video games you play could be. According to Bandura, he believes behaviours learned through the environment through the process of observational learning. In addition, through reinforcing behaviours, this can lead you to use behaviour again. In Gregory's case, you were playing your video game, and when you successfully killed in the game, you were then positively reinforced. This will then encourage your behaviour from the model in the game and then be classed as a good act.
Can I just spot in here? Did Bandura say that these vicarious reinforcements mean that they can contemplate on what will happen to other people due to their choice of behaviour? So suggesting that Gregory's act of violence was in fact thought through before acting upon this impulse. There was a similar case to this in New York in 1999. A man pushed a woman who he had never met onto the train tracks in front of a train and caused her death. The jury came to the conclusion that this man understood he was mentally ill and said he was guilty due to his awareness of the event.
Yes, this could be a possibility, but due to Gregory's diagnosis of schizophrenia and the fact that his reality is distorted to the point where he mistook a voice in his head for what was actually happening, we cannot assume that Gregory's thoughts are in fact sane. Carrying on with my previous point, Bandura also believes that we are more likely to imitate the same sex. As the player on Gregory's game is male, Gregory is said to be more susceptible to identify with him and thus imitate his aggressive behaviour.
Gregory, did you have a male authority figure when you were at home?
No. My dad left before I was born, and Mum had lots of short-term promiscuous relationships, so I never became attached to male figures.
So the only consistent male authority figure was in the game?
Yeah, I grew up playing the same video games, so I suppose you're right.
One last point is that Gregory's reasonings into committing the violent act could be that he wanted to be more like this strong character in the video game, but though he's learnt reinforced behaviour and mistook what he was actually doing.
So looking at all of this, it gives a strong assumption that Gregory has learnt to behave in this manner due to reinforcement and not down to his actual choice, so therefore he is not accountable.
Carrying on to the point of aggression, earlier it was mentioned that the cracks in the relationship began to show, suggesting the relationship was having issues. Maybe a partner wasn't interested anymore as she used to be and making you feel rejected. Wagner suggests that when people were rejected and with high testosterone levels, they respond more aggressively to women. It's also proven earlier that Gregory's testosterone levels were way above what they should be. So add this to being rejected by his partner and we have a reason for attack.
According to Mandel, schizophrenics are far more likely to take their own lives than someone else's, suggesting any act of aggression is more likely to be blamed upon themselves. Mandel also stated that, according to Schizophrenia Society of Canada, 40% of schizophrenics attempt suicide and only 25% succeed.
Biologically speaking, Gregory was acting out due to his high testosterone levels, which caused him to be aggressive naturally. Tie this in with rejection from his relationship and he's bound to act maliciously against his partner. As an individual who's grown up with no stable male role model, Gregory has turned to others as a guide on how to behave, such as people on TV or in video games. His choice of video games are those where you're praised for being violent. Social learning theory tells us that via reinforcement, Gregory will then believe that this behaviour is a good thing, and therefore he acts out in reality. He knew what he was doing and was aware of his actions, therefore he is accountable for his actions and should be found guilty.
Earlier we said that schizophrenics in general are more likely to cause harm to themselves rather than others, suggesting this wasn't a planned out attack and he was just acting out on the delusion that his girlfriend was going to harm him. He also believed that this type of behaviour was acceptable. We said earlier that he had no role model growing up and instead used figures from video games, so he's learned to act out this behaviour. He wasn't in control of his actions as he was acting out due to reinforcement.
So there have been many explanations as to why Gregory murdered his girlfriend. Taking into account all of them, I feel this decision is a sensitive one. Let's see if the jury have come to a conclusion. Jury, how do you find the defendant? So it appears that the jury have found you guilty. Take into consideration your mental disorder. I found you guilty of manslaughter, but due to the fact it was not premeditated and was an impulsive act, I therefore give you a reduced sentence of 15 years.
Down.
Okay. Let's all quickly watch that back.